Hello and welcome! I'm leveling here today as your lapdog made of latte foam. Well, we'll pretend that I am. I'm actually in a bowl, so it's probably not latte foam, but for the sake of alliteration, that's what we're going with today. And we're back again with more mashup mixing. How is everyone doing? I hope you're doing well. So as of the last stream, we had basically just gotten the audio files set up, and I'd started messing around with matching up different sections of the instrumental with different sections of the vocals. And then got stuck in a bit of a rut. So I wound up doing a bit of work off stream. So I've largely structured the entirety of this mashup now. And then I just started getting into the weeds of mixing. And then I was like, this I think would be an interesting thing to show off in stream. I think it is more interesting to showcase than just sort of slapping bits of the different audio files together. So I've been saving it since. So I've mixed about up to here. So this early section has, for the most part, been mixed to where I am satisfied with it. We might still go back and tweak it, we'll see. And then everything else still has yet to be adjusted. So I'm just going to play through this early section that we have as it is right now. And then I'll talk a little bit about what I did in order to get it to that spot. And then here we get to this section that hasn't been mixed yet. So the purpose of mixing is to draw out specific parts in the instrumental, or I guess in the song that you want to highlight. So obviously the vocals are something that we care about. And then we can sort of listen and then pick and choose certain things that we want to highlight. So I guess we'll start with talking about when you stack two different instrumentals from two different songs on top of each other. Because you are adding all of the sound together, frequently you end up with an overwhelming amount of sound. Not just in terms of like volume, although that does sort of contribute, but just in terms of like the amount of stuff that's going on. You can kind of think of it as like if you were to watch a movie and then you were to overlay another movie on top of it, and then you're basically trying to watch two movies at the same time. If you were to take in all of the information from both movies at once, that would, for most people, probably be extremely overwhelming. And that is kind of the same thing that happens with mashing up two songs at the same time, where because you're adding all the different pieces of all of the two different songs together, it just becomes sort of cluttered and messy and too much information at once. So what mixing does is it picks specific parts to remove, and then it also picks specific parts to highlight. And in doing so, we attempt to create a balanced sound where you can hear all the things that are interesting that's going on. So we'll bring it back a little bit just to this section where it is just the instrumental and the vocal for Chickie Chickie Bom Bom. And then we're going to play it into the section that introduces the instrumental from What an Amazing Swing. So in that transition, we're adding a saxophone at the low end, as well as some pizzicato guitar, some plucked guitar at the top end from What an Amazing Swing. So if we look at our EQ curves from the two different instrumentals, so this is for Chickie Chickie Bom Bom, this is for What an Amazing Swing. First thing I want to point out is this really deep cut at 50 hertz. So I guess I should explain this really quick. So the EQ curve is basically a visualization of the range of frequencies of the sound file, and how we're adjusting it, I guess is the best way of putting it. So when you're actually playing the sound file, let's actually get there. Okay, so you'll see this yellow waveform, yellow line. That is a representation of the audio that is coming through. So everything on the left, so going from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, you're looking at lower frequencies to higher frequencies. And then this will change over time as the sound that is played changes. So I guess best way to showcase this is probably to solo out the instrumental and then play it without any of the EQ first. So this is the instrumental as we got it from What an Amazing Swing, untouched, unfiltered. And this is perfectly fine for What an Amazing Swing because it is on its own a standalone song that is good in its own right. But the moment that we add another set of another instrumental to it, I guess is the best way of putting it, suddenly that becomes a lot more. So once again, I'm going to remove the EQ that we've done from the Chickie Chickie Bom Bom instrumental. And then we're going to play the two, just the instrumentals stacked on top of each other. So there's a lot of stuff going on, particularly in the lower end. There's that nice like bass saxophone, something like that, that's going on in What an Amazing Swing. And then the instrumental in Chickie Chickie Bom Bom also has a nice like groovy bass line. Oh, I guess one of the things that I should mention is for What an Amazing Swing, I had flipped the stereo tracks. So when we'd originally gotten the audio file, it was set up like this. So once again, I'm going to solo out and then just play it. So if you have headphones, you can tell that the bass line, that saxophone, is on the left-hand side. And then the string, the plucked string, which I'm fairly certain is a guitar, is panned onto the right-hand side. And then similarly, if we listen to the instrumental for Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb, the rhythm section, so the drum and that bass line, also panned on the left-hand side. So when we stack the two together on top of each other, we end up with a ton of low end coming from the left-hand side, and it gets a little bit overwhelming. So what I ended up doing was I just flipped the stereo. I flipped the stereo channels on What an Amazing Swing. So now the saxophone is on the right-hand side, the guitar is on the left. So now when we do this, the bass of the two different instrumentals are not stacked on top of each other. They're now set on sort of opposite sides. It's not panned hard left and hard right. If I had to guess, it's probably somewhere in like the 50 to 60 range. I can actually, let me just temporarily demonstrate with our click track here. Hopefully you can hear that. So this is the click track pan to the center, and then as we pan over to the left, you'll hear it shift. So right around here, right around 50, I think that's where it might be a little bit less. Might be somewhere like there, like 40, somewhere between 40 and 50. That is where the bass for both of these instrumentals sit. And then if we were to keep going, you'll hear it move further and further and further over to the left until it's just playing through the left-hand side. And then same thing with panning over to the right. So once again, right around here is going to be the opposite side of where that bass line is. So now that we've flipped the stereo channels on What an Amazing Swing, the bass saxophone line is going to be right around here. And then once again, as you, oh, sorry, that's the volume. That's not the pan. As we pan over to the right-hand side, eventually you reach the point where it is only playing through the right-hand side. So what we've done is we've flipped the stereo. So now you can hear that the saxophone is on the right-hand side, and then the guitar is on the left. So the guitar is probably panned like 70% to the left now, and then saxophone, as discussed, somewhere between 40 and 50% on the right-hand side. And then the Chicka Chicka Bam Bam, we haven't touched its panning at all. So the bass line is still on the left-hand side. So the bass line is just like the melodic line that's happening right now. So dum 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 dum. So now when we stack the two on top of each other, we'll have these two sort of bass line pieces on different sides of us, and then it doesn't overload one side with just like, here's all the bass fed into one of your ears. Now, this is probably not objectively correct. I'm just messing around and sort of navigating by intuition what I think would make sense. So because when, you know, I first started listening to this without any of the EQ on, I listened to it and was like, okay, you know, I feel like there is too much packed onto the left-hand side. And once again, I noted that the bass line for both instrumentals are stacked basically on top of each other. So I wanted to try this. This is the I actually had to look up how to do this because I've never done it before. But I found it and I was like, oh man, domain expansion. So that's the first thing we did. We flipped the stereo for What an Amazing Swing. And then I took this very large slice out at right around 50 hertz. So this is like the body of the kick drum. So the kick drum is like the bass, like if you think about a club, like club music, when you're a couple of streets away and you can just barely hear like the uns, 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 uns. The kick is the part. And once again, what I noticed when the two are stacked on top of each other without this cut, because you end up with two drum lines, basically, it becomes a lot to take in at once. And because What an Amazing Swing doesn't have a particularly forward drum part anyways, like if you were to, once again, solo out What an Amazing Swing and just listen to it and listen specifically to drum. You basically have like a muffled kind of a kick, just like on every single quarter note. So it's not super interesting. It's not particularly like forward in the mix. It's not something that they specifically wanted to highlight. It's basically there to keep the rhythm, and that's basically it. Whereas with Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb, there's a lot more going on. So there's like this nice sort of almost like call and response between the drum and the bass, where they take turns sort of. There's like they basically like alternate quarter notes. And then the kick also does a few more interesting things. So like here, there's like a few extra hits. And then in the lead up to the next section, there's like this fill. So I chose to basically cut out the drum section from What an Amazing Swing. So if we're once again to listen to it with the EQ on, you can still hear the kick drum, but it is significantly less forward. Whereas the drum for Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb basically untouched. So the drum from What an Amazing Swing, it's still there. It's still adding to the sound, but it's very far back. It doesn't stand out at all. The drum part that you're like paying attention to is still that of Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb. And then this cut right around like 350. This is to remove. Well, okay, let's just go from low to high. So we've got a bit of a boost at 150, somewhere between the 150 and the 200 range for both of these. And that's because I really wanted to highlight the bass lines of both of these songs. Once again, with One Amazing Swing, it's that saxophone, which I just thought was super interesting. And then on Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb, it's that like melodic, like grooving bass line. And without that bass line, you just lose a lot of like the character of the instrumental for Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb. So I've boosted both of them a little bit just to help bring them forward. And then we have this very deep cut right around 350. This is to just remove some of the mud in the mix in Chicka Chicka Bomb, in What an Amazing Swing. So the way I would describe this, so I'm going to try and use like vision as an analogy for how modifications to the EQ affect the sound. So for mud, in terms of sound profile, I would describe it as if the sound is fuzzy, if it sounds like the way a cotton ball feels, that means that there's too much in this range and you need to cut some of it out. And to compare it to something visual, I would compare it to looking at something through a like a thin cloth where you can sort of like peek through the weave. So if you think of like a Halloween mask with that black fabric that still allows you to see through it, but from outside the mask, it just looks dark. That's how I would kind of describe mud. It like you can still see stuff. It's just like not super clear. So if we didn't have these cuts, once again, I'm playing this without any of the EQ. There's just a bit too much going on. Just a little bit of that fuzziness. And then with the cut, the bass comes through a lot more cleanly on both sides. So once again, without the EQ. So here you kind of lose the bass line from Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb in the mix here. It's not super clear. Whereas once we add the EQ, that bass line like punches through a lot more cleanly. Obviously, you know, we have boosted it a little bit as well, so that helps. That's sort of the general idea. This cut for Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb at about 800 is cutting out some of the snare. So Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb on its own, the drums in general are just kind of loud. So right now we're listening to like the higher drum, if that makes sense. So not the kick, which is sort of like the driving beat. And this cut cuts out some of that higher drum, that snare. And once again, this just helps a little bit with reducing the amount of like stuff that's present overall. I didn't feel that the snare was adding too much to the mix when it was combined together. So I chose to remove some of it just to make more space for the rest of the instruments to breathe. And then this little boost at 3K for Chiki Chiki Bom Bom. This is mostly to help with the string stings. Like right there. It just brings those out a little bit more. Okay, so I guess another thing to note is that we've adjusted the volume of both of these a little bit, especially if you were to compare it to the section that came before. So the section that comes before only has the Chiki Chiki Bom Bom instrumental. We had the volume at -1.5 just as sort of like a baseline. And then because we're adding the second instrumental on top of it, there is just more sound. So we need to cut the volume for both of them down a little bit more. So we drop it an extra decibel down to -2.5, and then we also decrease the sound level for the What an Amazing Swing instrumental, just to get it to balance out. Once again, we were looking to be able to hear both of the bass lines. The bass line for Chiki Chiki Bom Bom is a bit further back. It doesn't like stand out the way that it does when we're listening to it on its own, but that's okay because you still like feel it. It is present enough that it is noticeable. Oh, sorry, let's take out the vocals for now. And then when we are actually mixing all of this, it is important to include the vocals as well, because that's how it's going to sound eventually. So just for the sake of completeness, we're going to play this all without the EQ changes. So both of the instrumentals as well as the vocals for Chiki Chiki Bom Bom. So that's sort of where you start noticing like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on. And then with the EQ changes. So the most obvious changes are the bass line from Chiki Chiki Bom Bom becoming a lot more present, and then the drums in general sort of being pulled back. And then if we were to listen to the transition into the next section, so I'm not... Oh, okay. So when we're doing these types of transitions, we want to try and keep things feeling the same in terms of sound level. You don't really want to just like hit a new section. Well, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. Sometimes you do want to make it very obvious. You're like, oh, okay, I'm adding this extra layer of instrumentals. This is like a big moment in the song. I really want to like hit you in the face with it. In which case, it's probably fine to just like, you know, maintain the volume of the one instrumental that has been playing and then just like slap down the full volume version of the instrumental of the other song. There are certainly cases where that makes sense to do. This is not really one of those spots. Right now, I'm just trying to sort of like transition in a way that showcases like, hey, these two songs gel well together. So in order to facilitate that, I want this transition to feel as seamless as possible. It's like, yes, we are adding instruments, but we don't want it to feel like the new instruments are outsiders. We want it to feel like they were always intended to be part of the group. So this second transition from having the two instrumentals and the singular vocal to the two vocals and the singular instrumental. The drums, I guess, plural, does come out a little bit more in this just the singular instrumental section. It's pretty close the way it is now, but we may want to try and smooth that a little bit more. This transition actually feels pretty all right. Let me just double check. Okay, so there is a bit of a fade going on here. And we just want to get rid of that because we are matching up the instrumental. This break in the instrumental is not because we are shifting to a different spot in the instrumental. It's just there so we can manipulate this section of the instrumental separately. We can EQ just this segment. We can change the volume of just this segment independent of the rest of it. So if we were to take this file and then just drag it out to fill the space, it would overlap exactly. So it feels like there is a little bit of a drop off in the drums initially, just for this first fill. And then when the rest of the instruments kick in, there's then enough body in the instrumental to feel pretty equivalent to what was going on before it. So I think I'm going to try and just decrease amount that's been cut from here in the Chiki Chiki Bom Bom. So this is once again the snare. Okay, that helps a little bit. Oh, sorry, and I totally forgot to talk about the cuts up here. Everything above sort of like 5K, 5.5K. These are just the really high-end frequencies in the sound. So in mixing terms, this is where like airiness comes in. And once again, if I were to compare it to, like, if I were to make a visual analogy out of it, I would compare this to like an overwhelming glitter, where it's not like there's a super bright beam of light blasting you in the face. But if you were to look at something, so I personally find like shiny, glittery things to be visually overwhelming. And it's difficult for me to look at them directly. This is kind of that, when there is too much in this top end. There's like a bit of a light piercing feeling. And it's easy to sort of like feel overwhelmed by it, even if you can't necessarily like pinpoint what exactly it is. So here we've cut out the top end of both of these a little bit. And I think I might actually want to add a little bit back in just to sort of match the energy of this section that comes after it. Honestly, it's not that bad the way it is now. I think I want to scoot this down a little bit, see if we can target a little bit of that mud as well as the snare that we're initially trying to target. Okay, I want to say that's a little bit better. Yeah, it still opens up a little bit, and I want to say it's because we've cut out a little bit too much of the top end in Chichi Bom Bom. Maybe just... Okay, that's not bad. We could probably drop this a little bit as well. Okay. That feels pretty decent. That feels pretty decent. Okay, yeah, that transition also feels fairly smooth. Okay. Also, just to note this other thing that I did, so this green section beneath the track is a volume envelope. So I specifically wanted to boost this "Let's Go" that's at the very end of this line. I just wanted it to stand out. It was kind of quiet before without this boost. And I just wanted it to be something that people noticed. Okay, so now we get to the part that hasn't been mixed at all. And the first thing I want to point out is just the amount of sound that you suddenly hear. So once again, I'm going to solo out just the instrumentals, and then we're just going to listen to the transition from the mixed section into the unmixed section. So just to compare raw volume levels, so this is at -2.5, this is at -3, so this is actually cut down a little bit more in terms of volume. And then this is at -1.5, and this is at -3. So once again, this has been cut down more. That being said, this is a more energetic section of the song. We've gone from a pre-chorus into a chorus, so there's a bit more stuff going on. But even with that, we've pulled the volume down a little bit more, and it still feels kind of overwhelming just in terms of the amount of stuff that's getting thrown at you. And in particular, you'll notice a bit of that high end. So like, I think it's the strings. I want to say it's the strings and maybe the synth in Chiki Chiki Bom Bom. Becomes a lot more noticeable on the high end. And then there's also the sax becomes a lot more active. I think it switches from like a baritone sax to an alto sax, and then it carries this like melodic line. Yeah. You can hear it on the left-hand side now. So this is, once again, the stereo's been flipped. So in this section, the saxophone is on the right-hand side. That's the baritone or the bass line, probably the baritone sax. Well, you still get the higher alto sax on the left-hand side. but it becomes a lot more active in this section. So let's see, how do we want to balance this out? Okay, so I definitely want to highlight the sax line. So that's probably going to be somewhere around maybe like 1200. Somewhere around there. Okay, yeah, that definitely brings it forward a little bit. I do want to cut out a little bit of that top end. Yeah, so there's some strings in there on the top end. And they're just a little bit too much in the mix. They're fine in like this instrumental in isolation. Once you throw in Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb as well, it becomes a little bit too much. So you can still hear the strings, even though I've cut a little bit of it out. Okay, let's see, what else have we got here? Let's pull up an EQ curve on Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb as well. So once again, I do think I want to cut out a little bit of that top end here. Drop this even lower. All right, let's just listen to this in isolation. Okay, I think that's fine. I do want to make sure that that bass line is present. It is noticeable. It actually matches kind of well to the higher strings on What an Amazing Swing, interestingly enough. So I do want to boost the bass line a little bit here. So that's once again right around 150-ish, thereabouts. Something like that. All right, I'm gonna try. I also want to highlight the baritone sax in What an Amazing Swing. So I'm going to try doing something similar where we cut around it. It's kind of like this, where we have like a deep cut over here, deep cut over here. And generally when you have cuts like this, the stuff in the middle then like stands out a little bit more. So we'll try and do something similar to that. Somewhere around like there. Okay, I think I want to cut out a bit of the bass, the kick rather, in What an Amazing Swing, and then bring it out a little bit in Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb. So we'll make this a fairly narrow band, and then just slap it on 50. Boost that a little bit. that becomes pretty prominent. Now I want to just compare it to the previous section. Oh, sorry, this previous section. It gets lost a little bit. Pull it up a little bit more. I'm not too concerned with it because once again, there are more interesting things going on. It is okay if that kick drum is not like front and center. Okay, that does not feel too bad. Okay, so we are listening to the kick drum from Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb, the bass line from Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb, which is on like a bass, I imagine a bass guitar, an electric bass probably. We are hearing the baritone saxophone from What an Amazing Swing, as well as the alto saxophone. And then on the high end, we've got the string stings in Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb, as well as the high violin. I don't know if you necessarily call them harmonies in What an Amazing Swing. All right, so let's listen to this section with the vocals and see how they play together. And we'll start a little bit before so we can hear that transition as well. Okay, still feels a little bit muddy. I want to say it is on Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb's side. Yeah, so I'm gonna try cutting a little bit at 300. Oh, so right around 300 and change. Basically right around the same areas here. Make this fairly narrow. Cut a little bit. That was a little too much. Okay, that's a little bit better. I want to see if I can, if cutting a little bit here in between the two will also help. Actually, let me just play around with this. Yeah, it's there, you can hear it, it just feels kind of muddy. Alright, yeah. It's kind of narrow. A little bit here. I want to say that helped. Yeah, I want to say that helps. You can sort of hear the individual plucks now. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with the bass line of Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb. let's listen for the other stuff. The vocals might be a little bit loud here, so I'm going to pull them down a couple of dB so we can hear the instrumental a little bit more. Okay, I think that might have been a little bit too much. I feel like feel like things have gotten a little bit muddy again. A little bit muddy. Okay, I think that's a lot better. Okay, we lose the melodic sax line a little bit. You can definitely hear that it's there. It's a bit difficult to track the melody. I'm trying to decide if this is a problem or not, because the reason that we're losing it is because the vocals are coming in, and you do want to feature the vocals a bit more heavily than one of the instruments. I think I can boost this a little bit, actually. Let's boost it 1 dB and see what that sounds like. Well, it's definitely easier to pick out the sax now. Alright, now let me just double check to make sure this is coming through. Okay, so we've got the bass, we've got the synth. We do lose a bit of the strings here as well. Alright, let's try adding another band to see if we can narrow in on that a little bit. So we probably want around 1500 thereabouts, maybe? Yeah, that definitely draws it out more. Let's see if that brings it out in the mix as well. I think it's going to share too much space with the saxophone. I think we have to pick either the alto sax or the plucked strings in Chicky Chicky Bomb Bomb. All right, I'm just gonna do something. I'm just gonna boost this a crazy amount and see what it sounds like in the mix right here. Yeah, I don't think it's worth bothering with. I don't think we're going to be able to get it to cut past the vocals and also the saxophone, regardless of how much we boost it. Or, I mean, we can do it if we boosted a ton, but at that point it won't sound good enough to be worthwhile. All right, so that's that section. Move on to the next section. We'll treat the vocal the same way because this is the same sort of chorus section. So we can pretty reasonably expect sort of comparable sound levels. At some point, I'm going to go back to listen to how the vocals sit in the previous section, just to make sure things sort of make sense and match along the way. But for now, we're going to keep moving forward. So we've adjusted the vocals. This section of Jiggy Jiggy Bomb Bomb is just going to keep running. So the EQ applies the same, but because we've poached this section from What an Amazing Swing from a different section of the song. So if we listen to it here, soloed out. It's like not a super smooth transition. Well, actually, you know what? Let's just, for the sake of completion, for thoroughness, I guess is a better, we'll just turn off the EQ for both these. So there's a bit more going on. So this is just pulled from a different section of the song. So that's why we've sort of got it as its own section, EQ'd a little bit differently. So now this is once again like starting a new section of the song. Okay, I do want to pull out that top end again. It's just a little bit too present. Actually, I think I might be able to just use the same EQ curve. I think that's pretty close to what I want. I want to boost the bass just a little bit for this section. So we'll put it at like 150-ish, thereabouts. Just pull it up a little bit. We're just listening for that lower saxophone on the right-hand side. Okay, I had to boost that a lot further than I expected it to, but I think that's sitting about where I want it to sit. Take a drink, stay hydrated. So I'm gonna pull this vocal section down quite a bit. I'm basically just using it as an ad lib, so it's not super important. You don't necessarily even need to be able to like understand what is being said. It's just like thrown in there for a little extra flair and flavor. And I've actually boosted, oh, sorry. I've actually boosted this vocal quite a bit because it is whispered, but I do want it to come through in that section. Okay, so what I should do probably is listen to the transition to where we've removed the vocal, or sorry, we've removed the instrumental from Chicky Chicky Bomb Bomb, and we're transitioning to just playing the instrumental from What an Amazing Swing. So this is a very large drop in terms of the amount of sound that is coming out. But we're also transitioning into a bit of a lower energy section of the song. So this is the end of a chorus, basically. And this is a lower energy section of the song than the chorus is. So I don't necessarily mind that there's a huge drop off in the intensity of the sound. But we might still want to check out this transition and figure out if we still want the same EQ curve for What an Amazing Swing. Just solo this out really quick. I feel like we do want to bring this section up a little bit. It feels a little bit thin right now, the sound. So the way I would describe this, the way I would draw an analogy to, once again, using sight, I would probably compare this, like the sound being too thin, as when you're looking at something that is like extremely lit, and because of how much light is striking it from a whole bunch of different angles, the shadows kind of get washed out. So you lose, like it's very bright. You can see everything very clearly, but you lose a little bit of the definition of whatever it is you're looking at. That's kind of what ends up happening here. Like you lose some of the body of the sound. Especially since in this section of the song, we've cut out a large number of instruments, and there is just a lot. There's just more instruments comparatively populating that higher end. So I'm just going to turn the EQ off for now to listen to what it sounds like on its own. Yeah, so there's not really a bass line, there's no more kick, so all of the bottom end has just kind of like dropped out. So it probably doesn't really matter what I've done to this bottom end at all, actually, just because there's very little left for us to manipulate. But it does still sound like there is, we want to cut stuff out of this top end area. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to find a spot that I want to cut this audio at. So probably here at the very first, I think it's just a very high trumpet note. so we're just going to cut it there. And once again, we're not cutting for the purpose of like pairing up different audio. We still want this to seamlessly flow from one section to the next. We're cutting it so that we can change the EQ profile. So I'm just going to preemptively cut it here as well. So probably right on that cymbal crash. And once again, because we're not, it is still like a seamless piece of music. We're going to get rid of the fade in, fade out that is sort of put in there naturally. Okay, so that means that we can preserve this EQ curve is going to match this EQ curve. And then we can just adjust this section that's in the middle. So I'm just going to reset this to all the defaults, and then we're going to listen to it with everything else and see how it feels. Once again, there is just a lot of top end. All of the rhythm section, so everything that's covering the bass as well as the drums, basically the lower end, the kick drum, all of that has been dropped. So it's just this trumpet and maybe one other instrument. Yeah, so it's the trumpet and then the synth. And then there's like, okay, there is a kick drum just like very, very far in the back, very faint. And then there's a few higher drums as well, I think. So I do want to try and cut out a bunch of this high end. Okay, so that sounds a little bit better. So what we're using here is a low pass filter, which basically says everything that is below this frequency is allowed through, and then you start throttling everything that is above this frequency from this frequency point. So we're starting at roughly 1800, and everything above it, we're just rolling it off. Oh, I don't know what just happened there. So you will notice that it also does boost a little bit of the frequency spectrum. So this is right around where I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit lower actually. Well, that's probably pretty close. This is probably right around the like where the body of the synth and that trumpet are sitting. So it probably sounds okay. We've rolled off some of the harshness, but it still feels like present. And once again, drawing the analogy to vision, it isn't like glaringly overwhelming to look at. Oh wait, hold on. I don't think I had I don't think I had the EQ actually activated there. Okay, yeah, never mind. I rolled off too much. Let this be a lesson. Don't EQ with your eyes, EQ with your ears. Sometimes we make adjustments on the chart visually and we're like, ah, yes, this sounds better. And then you realize it wasn't, you weren't actually changing the audio at all. and you just like convinced yourself that it sounded better. Okay, I think that might be a little bit too harsh. So we have a couple of options. We can either increase the bandwidth here, which sort of smooths out that boost. Oh, right. Of course, changing the gain is not going to help because we're using a low-pass filter. That might be a bit too much, honestly. Okay, I want to say that sounds all right. Okay, I think that sounds okay. We'll leave it as is for now, and then we do want this next section to be EQ'd a little bit differently as well, because now all the brass, all the lower end brass is coming back in. So we got that, the alto and the baritone sax. And I just want to make sure that we can highlight those. So once again, we're just going to make the cut, get rid of the fade in, fade out. So we're going to get rid of this EQ curve, and we're just going to pull in the EQ curve that we did from the section before, just as a starting point. Oh, is that not on? Oh, let's turn that on. Is this one on? Okay, yeah, one's on. Okay, that's not too bad. I think I'm going to try boosting the kick a little bit here. So we'll use this one. Get fairly narrow, dropped about 50. And then boost it a little bit. I want to say that helps. I might just do a low shelf here. So we'll turn this off for now. Yeah, right around there is probably fine. I just want a little bit more low end here, just because, like, once again, most of the instruments that were in the low end have like dropped off, so we've lost a lot of that low end presence. Alright, so now we've got, like, at least we've got the thump of the kick. This might be a little bit too much though. Let's try doing something like this. That first hit is just very loud. Okay, I think I'm actually just going to pull up the volume profile and drop the volume of just this first kick because it feels so loud compared to the rest of the instrumental here. Let's try dropping it 5 dB, seeing how that pans out for us. Okay, that matches a little bit better. I'm gonna boost this as well, so you can get that in parity. Okay, I think that's about where I want the kick to sit for the rest of this section. I think this first kick is still just a little bit loud, so we're gonna pull that down like another 2 dB. Still a little bit extreme. I just want to double check that. Oh, it might be because it's coming from here and not here. Okay. Let's just solve this out real quick. Yeah, okay. That's not really the culprit here. Alright, let's solve this out again. Yeah, that's fine. We're actually getting the kick from the Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb instrumental. Yeah, it's just there's just one massive kick right here. Okay, so we're just going to do the same thing that we talked about doing to hello. Now we talked about doing to the What an Amazing Swing section, except we're just gonna do it to Chicka Chicka Bomb Bomb instead. So we're just gonna pull this down, say 6 dB. Let's try that to start. That's probably fine. Okay. That's probably as good as it's going to get. We might be able to bring out, hold on, let me double check my EQ chart. What am I looking at here? So just so you guys can see this, I have this website that I like to use, the Ultimate EQ Cheat Sheet, which breaks down the frequency spectrum in a bunch of different ways that makes EQ a little bit easier to understand. So there is one specific chart that I'm looking for, which talks about drums. All right, here it is. So we're looking for the, let's see. The bottom thump is typically what we're targeting, but right now I think we're looking for the attack. But I don't think we can boost that without also boosting the what's the word? The higher trumpet and synth. Okay, let's see. We're including it in body. So yeah, I think it really is just the attack. I'm not sure if there's too much we can do about that then, because we're looking at 3K to 5K, which is probably where a lot of that high end sits. I guess we'll give it a shot. Let's get a little bit of boost there. Yeah, I don't think that really helps. Yeah, I think that's just about as good as it's going to get. So we'll just leave it like that for now. And now I'm questioning if I want this 3-2-1 here. It sounds kind of nice in this spot, but it doesn't necessarily make sense for it to say 3-2-1 here, because like it's not really leading into anything. Like if it was here and it led into this, that would make a little bit more sense. Okay, well, you know, if we line it up to the beat, maybe. Yeah, that actually, like, lyrically, structurally makes sense. So even though it sounded kind of nice in this slot, I don't think it necessarily makes sense there. So let's just bring this back and listen to it together. I wonder if there's like another equivalent of this vocal somewhere. Doesn't look like it because I'm pretty sure it's this section. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's really another. No. That's just like artifacts. Maybe we can use this. Maybe we can use this. We're no longer mixing, we're just playing. Which is fine and good. Alright, we'll just slap it in. Let's line that up to this beat, I think. Let's drop the volume on that a little bit. Let's try and put it in the same position as the other one. See if that feels a little bit better. Okay, that's not bad. It feels kind of weird because it starts kind of quiet and then the like echo, the delay that like exists in the tail of this just like becomes relatively louder to the Jiggy Jiggy Bomb Bomb vocal. So it's like the actual sung vocals are kind of quiet, but then the echo like rings out. So we're just gonna try and drag this fader across, see if that can tamp down on some of that a little bit. Okay, that's not that bad. Let's try something a little bit more aggressive. That might be a little bit too aggressive. okay with this. Yeah. Do I want to boost this? I think I want to boost this a little bit. That might be too aggressive. Is there... That still rings out a little more than I would like. So I think I want to pull this out a little bit further and just make this a bit smoother of a decline. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so let's just listen to this section again. So we'll just start from the beginning of this What an Amazing Swing instrumental. So we've specifically gone through these first 1, 2, 3, 4 sections, I believe, and then this ending segment has largely just been recycled. Yeah. Whoa, sorry, that was just suddenly a lot of high end. Yeah, is it from here? Slow this out real quick. Yeah, it's just that starting with that cymbal crash, it's like a very piercing cymbal crash. All right, let's just try pulling this down a little bit more. Am I crazy? It is not turned on. Oh, man. The answer is yes, I am crazy. I was like, why is this not changing? Okay, honestly, I think that might be enough. Okay, that's a lot better. Let's listen to it from over here again. I do think I want to cut a little bit more out of this top end. The cymbals are just a little too much. I think that should be okay. I think I want to pull a little bit out of here too. I think it's just where like the cymbal lines up with that string hit. Where is it? This one. it's not really all that much on its own. I think it's just where those line up. I think that's the issue. I want to try something. I want to raise this and then just like pull down more. That might be a little bit too much. Okay, let's try that. Okay. I think that's better. There might still be a little too much on the strings. I think because there's strings in both of these that sort of sit in the same range that are playing roughly the same thing. Even though we've taken a lot out of both of them, both of these top ends, they're still a little too much. I think we can sort of do the same thing that we did with Button Amazing Swing. I think that might be a little bit better. Let's just try the two instrumentals together. Okay, I think it's actually... I think we have to look a little bit lower here. I don't think it's quite all this just in the top end. I think we have to pull out a little bit, probably around this range. So I'm just going to boost it to try and find like the specific set of frequencies that I'm looking for. Maybe here. I do think it is up here, though. All right, I'm gonna try a low pass. let's try that with just the instrumentals together. Okay, I want to say that no longer feels overwhelming. Yeah, I want to say that feels pretty good. So you can still hear the string and top end, but they no longer feel overwhelming. They no longer feel glittery. I think some of these vocals can actually be boosted a little bit. Pull this down a little bit as well. Okay, that feels pretty good. I want to add a little bit of reverb on this. That's a little too much. I want to say that's better. Okay, I think the transition, this first transition works pretty well. Now I'm just checking for the second transition. I want to say that sounds pretty good. I think part of what makes it feel a little bit off is there's this big... Nope, not on this side. There's this big cymbal crash right as the vocals are starting, and that's just adding to the sound in a way that, for whatever reason, it's affecting how I am perceiving the vocals. I think we can actually go a little bit louder here, actually. Uh, do I need to go that loud? I think that's okay. Sorry, to go back a little bit and talk about reverb, I guess. That's probably something that I should do. How exactly do I describe reverb? I guess first let's solo this out and just play it. So first without the reverb. And then with the reverb. So reverb sort of defines the space that the voice exists or the sound exists in. So if you play around with the reverb, I'm just going to make a duplicate of this. Where is it? I know that there's an option to duplicate, whatever, just copy and paste. Okay, so we're just gonna keep this first one so I don't need to find my way back to it. Now we're just gonna turn this up a little bit just to hear what it sounds like. Versus no reverb. So the way I would describe this is like it sounds kind of flat, not like flat as in pitch, but like flat as in body. Once again, trying to draw an analogy to vision, it's almost like we're looking at something in 2D here. And then here we're looking at something in 3D. That's not really the best way of putting it, but that's sort of what my mind is immediately jumping to. And we'll also do this, which is just, this is only the reverb. This is no original vocal. And then with the original vocal. And frequently reverb is used to help like blend sounds together. Because once you sort of, I guess if we were to stick with the analogy of 2D versus 3D, if you have a whole bunch of 2D images and you just kind of slap them on top of each other, they just kind of get in the way of each other, and it doesn't really necessarily look cohesive. But if you have a bunch of 3D images and then you position them like at different depths to each other, then it looks like they are collectively existing within a space. And because everything sort of has its place and has its relationship to everything else, things tend to blend a little bit better. So that's generally how I think of using reverb. And for the purposes of mashups, sometimes you just get songs that use differing amounts or types of reverb. And then when you transition between something that has a lot of reverb versus something that doesn't, it can be kind of jarring. Once again, using 3D to 2D, if you have, you know, a movie that you're looking at in 3D, and then suddenly it switches to 2D, that just is a little bit weird, even if it like maintains some amount of like visual cohesion. So I guess another way of thinking of this is like things that are filmed with practical effects versus CGI, and like some people are like, oh yeah, you can definitely tell where the CGI is. I personally don't necessarily have a good eye for that, but with some people they're like, oh yeah, you can tell here, here, and here they use the CGI for this, that, and the other. And for them, it's something that like really sticks out like a sore thumb. It doesn't blend in with the rest of the stuff that's like actually there and being filmed. That's how I would sort of draw an analogy to something that has reverb matching up with something that doesn't have reverb. It just like sticks out kind of weirdly. It just looks funny. So part of what I'm trying to balance out using the reverb is just the amount of, like, the number of vocal tracks in Chiki Chiki Bam Bam in this section is just more, I think. Okay, so right there, I want to say that's like 3 different vocal tracks that are stacked on top of each other. There's a slight pan to it, so I think it's 1 in the center and then 1 on each side, pan probably, I want to say at like 30. Here it switches back to 1, which is why we don't need to go super hard with the reverb on this. And then here we add additional vocals on the One Amazing Swing vocal. So this is probably pretty similar, probably 3 tracks with a bit of pan. And then this is once again back to also multiple tracks. That might be 5. I want to say that's 5 tracks. So 1 in the center and then 2 on each side, panned different amounts. So because the reverb gives the sound a bit more body, it can help sort of fill the gap that the multiple vocal tracks, the additional vocal tracks provide the Chiki Chiki Bam Bam vocal here. Another thing that we can do is fiddle around with delay as well. So delay, basically it takes a double of the vocal and then just delays it by a certain amount. And if we don't delay it by a ton, this can sort of give a similar effect as having multiple tracks, because you do sort of end up with multiple tracks playing on top of each other. It's not quite the same, but it can kind of fill out the same, it can sort of bridge the gap. So that's probably too much. We probably want something a little smaller. Actually, you know what? We'll just play it. No, this is fine. Let's try just 1/8 note. Okay, and then let's drop the volume down. Okay, let's just try to send it back to 2. So like there you can still hear the delay if you're listening for it. It's still definitely there. But for the most part, it's just something that adds to the feel of the sound. There are only like bits and pieces that you can pick out, like, oh yeah, there's definitely a delay. So actually, yeah, this is fine. And then once we add in the instrumental as well, it'll sort of get like pushed further into the background. So like there you can't really make out any of the words that are being said by in the delay. Okay, so here we can actually probably cut down a little bit more on the reverb just because the delay is providing more depth, more body. I do want to see what this sounds like with just the 1/8 note delay though. Okay, that's probably about as good as it's going to get because we are sort of transitioning from a section that has a little bit less body to a section that has a little bit more body. So we have to kind of bridge the gap. And if we want to get really fancy with it, we could probably have like multiple sections with differing amounts of reverb and delay. There might be a way to sort of like smooth this where like transitions, like you basically have basically like this volume envelope except just for the reverb and or the delay. But I don't know I don't know if that is something that exists. I don't know how to do that. So for now, I think we're just going to call this good enough, and I might look that up later. Okay, so let's listen to the section again, see if anything else needs that reverb plus delay treatment. I don't think it does, because I think this is Jiggy Jiggy Bomb Bomb is using the singular vocal track through this section, and it's only sort of when it hits here that it adds in those extra vocal tracks. Yeah, so here there's a on the Chan Chan, that definitely has multiple vocal tracks. This section leading into it only has a single. I think here there might be a little bit of an extra one. Where was it? Yeah, I think on the Baby Tonight there's a double. Might be 3, but it's very quiet. It doesn't really add all that much body to it. And I think they actually drop it on this last syllable, on the night. Yeah, I think the extra tracks stop right on this syllable. So the transitioning into One Amazing Swing here doesn't, there's not that big of a jump. So this is actually doubled. Is that 2 or 3? I can't... Yeah, I think that's 3. So even though this is going from 3 to 1, it honestly doesn't feel that bad. I think part of it is that it starts, Jiggy Jiggy Bomb Bomb vocal here starts before the One Amazing Swing vocal ends, so you get a little bit of overlap where you hear both voices at the same time. So it doesn't really feel weird when one voice drops out at the end of a line, and then you just hear the other one continuing. I'm gonna listen to this one more time. I'm pretty sure I'm happy with it. Okay, yeah, I think I'm largely happy with that section. So one of the things that I'll do after I've finished all of these tweaks in the mixing, just to like double check that I'm happy with everything, is I'll just loop the song in the background while I'm doing something else, where like my attention is focused on another task. And then while I'm listening to it, if something in the song suddenly pulls my attention back, like away from what I'm focusing on and then onto the song, usually that's a sign that there's something that doesn't transition well. There's like a sudden jump in intensity. And typically for me, that's a sign that I need to go back and like sand down the edges, basically. So that's just one of the ways that I sort of double check my work and make sure that I'm happy with everything. That might be too much. This might be too many things going on, like too many additions from the What an Amazing Swing vocal. I definitely don't mind this first one. That one's fine, in my opinion. Okay, I think I'm much happier with that now that we've pulled the volume of this second set of 3 syllables down. The second set of ad-libs. Yeah, that blends in a lot better. Before, because it was so loud, it was sticking out. It was pulling your attention away. But we sort of just want it in the background. We want it there where it's like you'll notice it, but it won't be something that snags your attention, pulls it away from the main vocal. This I'm actually okay with being a little bit louder, just because there's nothing that's really going on in the main vocal at the same time. So it's fine that it's pulling your attention away because it's only holding your attention for the area that the main vocal wouldn't be holding your attention anyways. I think we can actually go a little bit louder on that. Whereas the second set of ad-libs, because so much of its presence is in that delay, in that echo, it sort of interferes with this beginning section of this line. So we need to pull the volume down so it doesn't have so much presence in that delay. And that's also why we've got this fade out, even though the audio itself fades out. Like if we were to just like it will fade out on its own, but it's doing so a little too slowly, so that delay is really sticking up and catching your attention away from the main vocal here. Shoot, I may have... Okay, I think I'm happy with these, where these three are. I think I want to boost this vocal a little bit. It feels just a little overshadowed. Is that right? I wonder if I'm just being thrown off because of how loud this whisper is. Because it, like, we register as a whisper, so we think of it as quiet, but I have boosted it quite a bit. Yeah, I think that was it. I think I was trying to make this section sort of like be the same relative volume compared to the instrumental that the whisper was, and the whisper was just very loud. It still is very loud. It is still louder, relatively speaking, than this vocal section that follows it is. Okay, we might want to boost this because we've lost the vocal from the instrumental from Chiki Chiki Bam Bam. Actually, we lost the instrumental back here, so we may want to boost this earlier section as well. Alright, we didn't mind that much because it was transitioning into a lower energy section. But this is now, once again, a more energized section. So I do think we want more presence in the instrumental. We can actually go a little bit more than that, I think. I just want to say, I really like this whoop in the middle of this vocal section. That whoop? That's such an interesting ad-lib. It just like adds so much personality to this section. Okay, we're losing like the vast majority of this instrumental here. Okay, let's pull this back down a little bit. Pull it back down to 2. Boost this one a little bit as well. Set both of them at 2. Okay, so Chicky Chicky Bomb Bomb's instrumental definitely starts out a little bit less intense and then really kicks in over here. Just to experiment, I'm going to add the same EQ curve that we had before in that earlier section. See how this plays together. I think I want to hear a little bit more of that drum fill. So, get a little bit more here, I think. That's not too bad. Okay, yeah. Once this section kicks in, you can definitely hear more of that bass line again. Well, that makes sense. There's no bass line here. Funny how that works. Okay. Let's put that back. Okay, that feels a little bit weird, that transition. I want to say everything needs to move forward a few beats. I feel like this third syllable should land at the same time as this last syllable. Ba, ba, ba. Okay. Unfortunately, if I do that, it's gonna get really weird. Okay, so I can't move this really. That feels a little bit strange. All right, let's just drag this forward, see what it sounds like, and then we'll go from there. There's no point in worrying about it if it doesn't work out. So I decided this doesn't help, then I don't need to worry about the consequences. That felt rough. I almost want to say this should be delayed like half a beat. That's too soon. Maybe it's full beat? Feels a little weird, but I think that is where we want it. Yeah, that does not feel correct. Alright, what does it sound like if we delay it another? That does not feel correct. Yeah, we want this landing on beat 1. Okay, so now that we've moved that, how far did we move it? So we wanted that to line up there. Is that where it was? Yeah. Okay. So we moved it forward 2 beats. Oh. Okay, so this placement doesn't really work anymore. Ironically, it feels like I should be adding a couple of beats rather than taking them away. Oh, that's so weird. Because typically everything works on counts of 4. But in order to get this transition down, we're dropping 2 beats. So now we're no longer dealing with a 4 count. No. No. Alright, what if we try going the other way? think that kind of works. Okay. This at least matches up well, this instrumental with this section of the vocal. How we're going to bridge this gap, I'm not sure. Yikes. Oh, it's rough. Oh no. I mean, of all the options, that has sound the least worst. It's not good. But it's not good, but it's not terrible. Oh man. Oh, it's rough. All right, you know what? I think I'm going to call it here for tonight. It's about that time of night. So I will do a bit more with this off stream, and we'll see where that takes us. All right, let's turn it over to the poetry corner. Today's poem is, if I can find it, there we go. Invitation by Shel Silverstein. If you are a dreamer, come in. If you are a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer, if you're a pretender, come sit by the fire, for we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in, come in. Invitation by Shel Silverstein. This actually served as quite the inspiration for the poem that I read on Tuesday, which is why I wanted to pull it out. All right, that will be it from me for tonight. Thanks as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did and you're looking for more, I'll be back on Tuesday next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with more Tactical Breach Wizards. And if you're looking for more mashup making, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do. I do think I want to stick with that for this Thursday time slot. But I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing for next stream. I might do like some video editing for this one. If this one is finished by then, I might also find a different mash up to work on by then. In before you end the stream, welcome Sue, welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. Yes, you're just in time for me to close out. Yeah, not quite sure what I'm going to be doing But I'll be back next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. So I hope to catch you then. Take care, folks.